Hello, everybody. I am in your face today. I hope you don't mind. And also, I've been a little sick, so if you hear me sniffle or snort just a little bit, it's because I've been sick. So, today I got a video for you guys in a exercise in shading, and I think that this is going to give you an aha moment. For those of you that really struggle with shading, I think that this is going to be your moment that's going to make the wires in your brain connect that help you understand how to shade something better. I'm really excited about this because I was literally sitting down at my office where I work at my day job, and I was sketching on a post-it note, and I just did a couple weird shapes, and then I started shading them. And it wasn't that I was trying to shade them to make a 3D shape, but when I was done, I had created this beautiful, simple 3D shape that just really surprised me. And the thing that also surprised me, since I draw a lot of faces, is it really started to take on the idea of a face. And so what I want to do with you guys here is show you what I did, give you an idea about how that technique works, and you guys go play with it. This is not something that you have to do as an exercise. This is something that you could seriously do to just work your brain a little bit, to have some fun when you're super bored, or when you're needing to listen to someone and do something, but you need to keep your hands moving. This is seriously fun, and it's a really cool opportunity to try something different. You can do it on paper, you can do it on anything you want. I haven't even tried to do this in a digital format yet, so I'm doing it digitally here because it's just the easiest way for me to show you guys how it's done, since I don't really have any good camera setup showing how to draw things on paper. So here we are in my beautiful Clip Studio Paint Pro. I am drawing on a Cintiq 21UX. It's a really great board. It's a very old board, but boy, it is yet to let me down. I love it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first create a brush or just a pencil that's going to work well for this. And really, there's already one created right over here in the pencil settings and the lighter pencil. And that's really all I'm going to use. I might drop my brush density just a little bit down just to kind of get this theory. Now, here's the skinny. I just create a shape that I like. And usually I do faces, so I create a face shape. And then I begin to color it in. So that's what we're going to do here. I'm just going to make my brush just a little bit bigger. And I'm going to go ahead and start with just a circle. Any color you want, doesn't matter. And you don't have to be perfect in anything. This is just to get a theory, okay? I might strengthen up my stabilization just a bit. Doesn't have to be perfect by any means. And I find if you do a lot of circles, you will find the one circle that looks correct, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and bring a shape down like this. And then what I do is I play a game. Anything that I do, I need to have a connecting point. So let's say maybe I make an arc like this. So that means that there has to be a connecting point here to somewhere else. So either I could connect it to the head like this, or maybe I need to draw a line that connects this to this point. So wherever intersecting lines are, that's where I want to connect these points. So let's say I got this shape here, and it's kind of headish in a way, has that head shape. Let's maybe do another point here that comes across the head like this. So then that would mean that if I wanted to, I could take this down like this. And your goal is to create these shapes, okay? Just anything you want. Now, in the end, we do have a plan that we need to work with this. So there's a certain theory that we need to work up. But as you create these lines, and it really doesn't matter where you put them, as long as you do them to, a point like that, and then you have to connect them somehow. So maybe we'll do up here like this, and then this one's obviously going to have to connect down to here, like so. And so you start creating these shapes. And you're not really thinking of shapes, you're thinking of lines. It looks very abstract, and that's kind of what I like about it. Maybe a bird's beak that's facing down, or a super long chin or armor of some sort. And I'm just going to go ahead and dim this just a little, and I'm just going to kind of freshen it up a little bit. I want it to be nice and clean. So using my pencil, I'm just going to go ahead and clean it up just a little bit. Make that first layer just even a bit darker. And this way I can kind of continue this shape around here a little bit cleaner. Okay. And then in the areas where the shape connects like this, then I can keep it nice and clean. Usually when I draw with a ballpoint pen, I don't need to clean things up because usually I have a very clean hand in my individual sketching. But when I do digital, things can get a little bit more messy. Okay, so we have this basic shape. Now, let's go ahead and set the idea of where light would be coming from. Usually I do light from a certain direction, so we'll go ahead and do that here as well. We're going to go ahead and put the light up here, and it's going to shine down this way. Now, you've drawn whatever shape you want. It really doesn't matter what shape you have, but the goal is then to start considering where your light is and where your dark is. And a good way to do that is to be a person up here, hello, looking down this way. And what you want to look at, whatever you see in your line of vision, is going to be light. And then you can have another person down here in the opposite direction of light. You're always going to have somebody in the opposite direction of light, and that person's going to be looking from the bottom in the opposite direction, and that's going to be dark. Okay? So that's your highlight and your shadow. Now let's go ahead and start playing with this theory a little bit. So let's start by just shading in what's dark. I'll make a new layer, and just lightly, I'm just going to, as if I'm doing it with a ballpoint pen, I'm just going to start shading in areas that are dark. And I'm not really considering shading so much as I am just considering doing a different color. Okay? And it doesn't really matter if you do cross-hatching or whatever. It doesn't really matter. You may even choose to go a different direction completely. Now, as you're doing things, you need to be considering how deep the shadow needs to be, and then also how much the highlight needs to be. Now, remember that white is like the ultimate highlight, so you really don't want to have things all white. You need to add some shadow even onto the top, or basically you need to add tone. So I'm just going to go ahead and add some tone to all these shapes up here. So I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm trying to do it as lightly as I can. It doesn't need to be perfect. This is all just for sketching fun. Okay? Just for sketching fun. Now, if you're working with a ballpoint pen like I like to do, remember that any lines that you put in, you can't really go over top of them. So your goal is to, keep them as close as possible to whatever. Now, you've created these shapes, okay? And these shapes all have a purpose and have a meaning. And as you've done these different lines that go in these different directions, some of these shapes are going to take on different effects. For instance, this shape down here may be a bit darker. Because if you look at this arc here and everything, the light isn't really going to hit it at all. So maybe in this point, maybe you want to do like a gradient from darker to lighter. Kind of like this. And then you're realizing that with this here, that means that this shape here is going to be pretty dark too. But maybe there's a little bit of a overhang from this shape that's causing it to be darker. And see, if you wanted to, you could even do that. This is just a great way just to play with the idea of light and dark. Now, I do find that this line right here is actually not really working for me, and that's mainly because it doesn't have an intersecting line. So maybe what would happen if I built in some intersecting lines that kind of connect to other parts? It starts helping me consider what might change, like this. This looks now like it's taking on a different shape as it comes down this way. And then this one may be doing the same thing, but it may be tapering off to get to this point, and then this one's doing the same thing. You see how it's starting to take on a 3D shape completely by accident? You're not even really thinking so much. I mean, it's just all about looking at these shapes and considering these different things. Let's look at it in the idea of a face. Make a new layer, and we'll consider a face. Face is usually a circle, like this. And then down from that, usually is going to be a shape like this. Okay? Now, once again, if you wanted to, you could play with intersecting points. So maybe we'll do something like this. We'll do something like this. And I know a little bit about face shape, so I'm adding in things that I know will turn into a face in the end. But the goal is to still consider a lot of this stuff. Okay? So just don't be afraid to add, whatever. And obviously there's lots of different parts of the face or whatever. But use the same technique that we just did to consider this. One face over here. One face down here. And let's get started. Let's go ahead and put the nose on. If I was to put the nose here, then what's the shape of the nose? It's like a triangle. But then the triangle sticks out like this. And it also has a bottom where the nostrils are. So I'll just do that. The lips. It's not usually a straight line. Usually there's a shape that goes up the top like that, and then a shape that goes down the bottom like that. Okay. And then this. And then thinking about the intersecting lines, maybe a laugh line coming down like this. And then the cheek might go up this way. Back around and down. Okay, and as you start building these things, maybe dim it, and we'll put another one over top. Now let's start building it up again, getting it cleaner. And if you're sketching with a pen, just go to town on this thing. The more you shade it, the more all these lines are going to disappear, and it'll look really cool. And your goal is not to think of this as a face. Your goal is to think of this more as just an image that you're going to color in for the fun of it. Make all these lines that are supposed to connect. Think about connecting lines. Lots of connecting lines. Same idea. Try to... And you don't have to connect them exactly, but connect them loosely. Everything can have a... Excuse me. Everything can have a connecting point. Like I said, nose is so stuffy it all goes right into the throat, and I... then I can't talk straight. Okay. So now, with the light up here and the dark down here, let's go ahead and start thinking about shading. This guy, if he's looking from up here down, can't see what's underneath this ridge. Can't see what's underneath this ridge. Can't see what's underneath this ridge. Might not see what's underneath this ridge. Maybe able to see a little bit what's underneath it, but not much. Same down here. Now this I want to be more of a rounded surface, so let's try and do that shape, but then maybe in a minute, maybe we'll try and blend it a little bit so it's more rounded. I'll show you what I mean in a minute. This whole side of the face. Now there's also things as cast shadows. So that means he's looking down like this, and he's casting his light down this way, which means a lot of things, like the nose, may cast a shadow across different things. So we can do something like a cast shadow. Okay, what else? Let's go ahead and add an extra shape down here. Maybe do some shading down there. It looks like a face, doesn't it? And it has some form to it. Let's just go with it. Let's keep playing with it a little bit more. Don't be afraid to go crazy. Go crazy, man. If he's looking down this way, he may be able to see the top of the head, all of this here, all this here, but he's really not going to see much of the side of the face. Want to build an ear? Let's do that. Let's try and build an ear. So ear is from the top of the eyebrow to the bottom of the mouth. So we can put it right here. And think of it more of a shape, not exactly an ear, but just a shape, okay? And you can even connect the shape and do everything that I was saying to do before. Create whatever lines you want to create. Make it a modern art piece. Take a look at the basic picture of an ear and just develop what you think it might look like, but just have fun with it. And then consider the shading. He's looking down this way. This thing is completely in the dark. Okay? And if you decide to put that completely in the dark, then you may need to take that more in the dark. Okay? Now let's start considering the idea of rounded stuff, like these cheeks. They're rounded, but the highlight is obviously hitting the top of the cheek, but not the bottom. So you can go pretty dark on this on the bottom here if you wanted. Because look at the shape here. You could kind of really block that in. Because the sun can't see that, and the further away you get from the sun, the darker things get. Let's go ahead and grab my blending brush. Now, obviously, you don't have this in real life per se, but just to give you a for instance, I'm just going to go ahead and start blend brushing in some of these different colors and things. And I'm actually going to merge these two layers together, so that way when I blend it, it's going to remove everything. It'll get rid of all these little action lines and things that I've thrown in here. And let's just see what happens. Certain parts of the face that you know are just interconnected with each other, go ahead and blend them into each other. That's okay. And if you're doing digital right now, you can easily go in and add more. So you got nothing to lose. I didn't think about it, but the side of the nose might even have some shadow. Not much, because obviously the side of the nose may have some light hitting it. Maybe seen by the light person. By the flashlight. But you can see that there is a shape of a face in there in all of that. Let's go a bit more. Just going to draw in the basic idea of eyes. And some eyebrows. Form out the shape of a nose a bit more. Maybe do some bags under the eyes. Chin. Little ear. And I'm just kind of going with my own choices of what I want it to look like. I'm not really too desperate on getting things exact. Okay, laugh line here and here. And I'm going to be a little bit more careful with the lip and actually give that a little bit of form. And I'll also go ahead and start shading that because I know that's not going to be hit by the light. And this, obviously, you need to know a little bit more about the face to start seeing this. But maybe by watching it here on this video, it'll kind of give you some help next time you're trying to draw it yourself. So once again, start looking for those areas where you can start adding those shadows. And keep in remembrance which way he's looking. and start going for it. This whole area in here is still in this shadow area, so just fill it all out. Get it all nice and dark in there. And even go over the eye. It's okay. Go for it. Because in the end, the eye will be in shadow. You can also take a look at one of my other videos that I did recently where I talked about the idea of using cross-hatching to get to a realism. And if you watch this long enough, this could turn into a very realistic piece. I'm not going to put that much effort into it this time. But if you want to watch those other videos, you'll see what I'm talking about, using cross-hatching as a technique with your blending tool to get realism, and it will help you out a lot. And if you haven't subscribed yet, would love it if you'd subscribe. That would mean a lot. I would greatly appreciate that. I'm not going to give this guy hair for now, because I'm too much of a lazy bum, and I need to get to some real commission work as well. But you know what? I haven't made a video for you guys, and I thought, after I did my little fun little sketch, a couple things connected in my brain, and I was going, oh, I could totally use this as a teaching tool. So, just kind of blending things in again. Still want to kind of keep some of the original lines in there, just so you can see the depth of it. But the more that I add, and the more that I blend it out, the more the shape of the face just continues to take on this form. I mean, that's a 3D face. You can see that. And if you can't see it, zoom out, and you'll start seeing it. The more you zoom out, the more it turns into a 3D face. I mean, that's sweet, isn't it? And this is not something that you need to do unless you want to do it. What I'm saying to you guys is just have fun. I mean, look, we'll just do this one more time. Intersecting lines, intersecting lines. Any lines you choose you want to do. Doesn't even have to be a face. Let's just add more weirdness to it. Why not? I'm purposefully trying to make this difficult on myself. I really am. I want this to be technical because I want to push my thoughts, push my boundaries, push what I think is a face and turn it into something else. Okay, let's do one up here, one down here, and let's get started. So once again, I'm going to just use my airbrush here, and airbrushing is really also a good technique to consider. And you'll get a lot more shadow and shaping done if you use an airbrush in comparison to other techniques. But you'll see what I'm talking about here in a second. Okay, even though the sun is shining down this way, maybe a little bit of shadow there, maybe a little bit there. Maybe overall, there may be a shadow across the whole thing. So you can kind of go like this. And then erase what you don't want here. Which I'm not going to do. I'm just going to go ahead and leave it like this. Sometimes it looks really, really cool when you add that extra shadow in there and you leave it like that. Let's see. And if you're finding maybe there's just not enough to help you build up a good shape, then you keep going. And you find new shapes. Like this. Maybe you remove some lines and add some lines and subtract some lines. And this is your chance to have fun. So I'm gonna change my color of my brush here to normal tone, and then I'll color out some lines. And you start seeing some 3D shapes in there. Maybe I want to connect these two lines. There we go, and create a solid form here. let's do something like this with this line, where maybe using this outer shape here, we can add a little bit more here, like that. And then that shape is rounded, so you would shade up towards the sun, but you wouldn't shade it all the way. You'd only shade it some. And then down here would be a hard point of shadow because you hit that turn. Let me turn this whole thing here, because I wanna see more of this. Here, it's like that, and then this circle as it comes around. Let's go ahead and get rid of one or two of these lines. Let's get rid of this one. Okay, maybe this one. Now, obviously, when I get rid of some of these lines, it doesn't take on the right form, which at this point in time, I'm just trying to find forms. So maybe I'll do a line something kind of like this. Doesn't feel right. Maybe you need to, how about this? I'll draw another line. Trying to get a darker brush. There we go. Another line down here. And maybe we'll go this way and this way. And then we'll start shading this in. There we go. That looks cool. And then in that way you can take this line, if you wanted to, follow it to the other side. And even though it's intersecting through there, you could shade here. Like this. And just keep creating these 3D shapes. It doesn't matter. You don't have to be exact. You don't have to do anything intense. Just have fun. I have no idea what I'm drawing, but I don't care. I'm just trying to consider, where's that light hitting? Right here? This looks like it's facing towards us, so that wouldn't be hit by the sun. Neither would this on this side. And actually adding that extra layer of darkness helps too. So if you wanted to, go darker with your brush and see if going darker helps. Having the intersecting lines is really, really important because that helps build up shape and form. So something like this line right here is really kind of useless as you're continuing to build up a form. So maybe you'll get rid of that. And if the light's hitting that form, then maybe you'll rethink it a little bit, and maybe you'll add a little bit of shading into it so it starts to take on a rounded form. I think that this line's coming around here real nice, but I think that it needs a contour of some sort. So we'll give it a contour along the side of this face or ball or whatever, and then that we can develop into something more like this. Okay, now the light would definitely be hitting that though, so let's go ahead and get some light and throw it on here. Down near the bottom, I think, is where the light would hit, and it would refract up, and as it does, it'll get darker. And the reason it's getting darker, even though we're getting closer to the light, is as we get towards the tip of this thing, right up here, we can kind of tilt that tip so it guards that area and causes shadow. And it would literally cause a cast shadow, much like the nose did on our character. So let's do that. We'll create this hard edge. And then, whoops, wrong color. So we can get this hard edge. And this hard edge would be lit in a certain way. But if we do this and we think about where that shadow would be, maybe something like here. We'll create that cast shadow. The cast shadow would probably actually fall the other direction. It might fall more like this. And then I'll blend it. Oop. Blend it this way and down, kind of like that. Okay, and then with this shape here, I really love working with the airbrush because the airbrush can be smooth or it can be hard depending on how big or small you make it. But it oftentimes makes things look quite fuzzy. So I'd say be careful how much you overdo it, but it can be a very, very good tool. Okay. I think I've kind of made my point. Now I'm just having way too much fun and I have a lot of work to get to. So I really should stop. I think I've kind of given you guys an idea of what I'm talking about in lines of how to have fun with this or not. And it's not a goal that you need to have that you're going to take this and learn how to draw faces with it or learn how to draw, you know, anything else in particular with it. Honestly, it's a way for me to vent when I need a break from another style of art, or a way for me just to keep my hands moving because I am so attention deficit and in a need to move around and a need to flex and contort or do whatever to keep myself busy. So maybe we'll do some highlight in here. Whoops, no wonder I was having a hard time. You can also turn down your brush density too, and that will help you build up certain parts. And just consider anything that's facing towards the light needs to have a little bit more glare in it. And maybe at a certain point in time, maybe you need to add some backlight. If you have a light coming from behind or something. So let's add in one more dynamic. Let's take another face and put it over here, looking this way. And what's that going to do? How much highlight will that add to your piece? So then you can start doing crazy stuff like this, where the light would be hitting all along this ridge. And it really helps to have that here, I'll just do this real quick. It really helps to have this on a balanced background, because then if you want to, you don't have to turn that shape. You don't have to draw on that shape. You can draw above the shape. So instead of me putting my white for my highlight here, I can put it directly on that black line. Okay, and then if you consider maybe it's going to come up here, and then as it makes that turn, then it won't have that anymore. But right here's another ridge where that might have a highlight along here. You know, it really depends on what you're trying to do. And this is not something I am truly experienced at in any means. This is just my way of having fun. So as I teach you guys, don't expect this to be the rule of how to do this, because I don't even know the rule. I never went to school for art. I learned all this on my own, and I've enjoyed this on my own. And a lot of people may feel that I should go and get some training, and I wouldn't disagree with them. I probably should. But this is all stuff I learned on my own. I do my own college. That's how I tell my wife. I'm really enjoying this. This right here is a Sony a6000 camera. It's a really, really great camera. I'm very excited about it. I love everything about it. And one thing that I'm learning is more about photography, more about videography, which is my passion. I would love to become a professional videographer / YouTuber and all that jazz, just like everyone else on YouTube. But you have to learn these things, and you have to take the time to learn them. The people who decide to learn them, those are the people that succeed. The people who want to learn them but don't do anything about it, they're the people who fail. And I am not one of those people. I love learning new things, and I'll put my heart and my mind into learning how to do those new things. And if I don't know how to do it, I'll try it until I figure it out. And that's exactly what I'm doing here with you guys in this video, because this is something I just fell on. This is not a technique that I use, and this is something that you should learn, and this is your master class of how to do this. No, this is what I do, and it's a fun experience, and an experiment. And you just play. That's all you do. But I mean, look, a bunch of lines that had no sense and rhythm at all suddenly create a very, very odd 3D shape. Why? And that's what makes this so much fun. It's abstract, but it's 3D. And it's mind-blowing. And if you want to go even further, just check this out. What if I take the dark tone here and I do this? Now it's on top of something. Now it has depth. How does that work? I mean, seriously, there's just so much that you can do with just playing. Go play. Have fun. This is your learning experience. This is your chance to have fun. Don't let this stuff scare you. Just sit there. Create weird shapes. Just create weird shapes. And develop those shapes in any way you want. No one's going to judge you. And the more you create these shapes, and maybe instead of doing just this whole exact tone, maybe create gradients from the top down. So we'll do the top nice and hard, and as we get lower, it'll get lighter, and you just do that. Why not? Doesn't even matter if you do it for the right reason or the wrong reason. Okay, that looks really cool. What if I do it from the bottom up? What's going to happen then? How's that going to look? You know, your brain is going to get tickled by the idea of tone and color. The idea of why would you go from the bottom up with the dark? Or why would you go from the top down with the dark? What effect is that going to have? What happens if you shade this shape to this extent and then this one to this much? And it doesn't matter. Go have fun. Your brain will... Yeah, when I create a 3D shape, I'll create it understanding what it is. And then when I turn away and I look back, I go, whoa! Where'd the 3D come from? Because as I'm doing the 3D shape, I'm not seeing it. And because my brain is too interconnected into it. But as I look away, talk with my wife, focus on something else, and then come back to it, I go, oh, I see the 3D shape now. And I'm able to develop it further. So it's not just after that point in time, it's not just I don't see it, but, oh, there it is. No, then it's oh, this is obviously a 3D shape popping off a piece of paper, you know? And that's what I want to give you guys, your aha moment. It can be really exciting. I really want you guys to give it a shot. Have fun with it, and then begin to use that as you look at someone's face and as you begin to, you know, think about how to draw someone appropriately and create these shapes. Over time, it begins to connect even more. And next thing you know, you will be able to see someone's face and see the contour lines around their face and see where the different connecting points are. Just have fun. Thank you so much for watching. I'm sorry my videos are so long. I just really love talking with you guys and creating this kind of stuff. Hit the like button, subscribe if you really truly enjoyed this, and if it helped you out, please share it with a friend. That would mean a lot. We are about to hit 10,000 subscribers. It's one of my biggest landmarks I've ever had in my life. I'm so excited about it, and you guys are creating that. Send it out to your friends. It would mean a lot. Also, I want to say a special thank you to my patrons. You can look right down here below me, and you can see all these wonderful people who are donating, and I would love it if you would consider doing it as well. I have some big things happening in my life, and honestly, I'm going to need your help financially, and it would mean a lot to me. And I want to continue making these videos for you, and there's a lot of things that go into just running life, and you know how it is. But the extra dollar here and the extra dollar there, like AC and Todd G and Hillel and all these guys who are just donating the $1, you have no idea what that $1 means. So thank you for even checking it out. If not, subscribe, like, comment, share it with a friend, and I will see you guys next time on another one of my videos here on my Tim Michael channel. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I hope that you've enjoyed this. I'll see you next time. Bye.